Hello everyone and welcome to the POAP Report, a show where we love to talk about the news, projects, and communities around POAP. I'm your host, Mister Mojo, and today we got a lot to talk about. We'll discuss a post on the POAP Discourse. We'll be taking a look at a new partnership formed with POAP Inc. And there's a few interesting uses of POAP that we'll zoom in on. So, beginning this week's show, one of the hot topics circulating in the community as of late has been discussion on the ethics and conduct on using POAPs. Wanting to take it a step further, POAP growth manager iDecentralized, who is also better known as Anthony, he had made a post on the Discourse asking the community to give their thoughts and opinions on a few different questions. And the purpose of this post was to help POAP Inc. get a better idea of how people use their product and what they need to do in the future to help improve it and allow it to conform to users' needs. There's some really good posts on here, and I highly encourage everyone to at least read the thread, and I'll post a link in the description to it. But let's really begin talking about what's in this thing. So, really, actually, to begin, I'm going to preface where I'm coming from in terms of my feelings and opinions on this topic. So, a little backstory on me. I first entered the Web3 space about a year ago now, and POAP has been with me every step of the way. And I'm going to use an analogy of a baby here. So, first you crawl, and then you walk, and then you run. And for POAP, it's been my onboarder, and it wasn't necessarily my crawl, but it's definitely been my walk. So not exactly the first thing that I did, but it's really what helped me begin moving in this Web3 ecosystem. And really, I think a lot of this is because POAPs are so noob-friendly. The barrier to entry is super low. You don't need to know how to navigate Web3 or even pay anything but your attendance to get one. And I've been helping plan events using POAPs. I've helped people use best practices. I've given plenty of advice and guidance. I'm one of the hosts for their community call, and I mean, heck, I made this YouTube channel so I had another outlet to talk about them. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I care a lot. And topics like this have a lot of meaning to me. And so I would at least like to believe that through my experiences and passions about this, that my thoughts are going to be valuable here. So in this Discourse post, Anthony asks, let me go ahead and scroll down so it's more visible here, everyone. He asks two questions. I'm going to focus in on the first one really quick. So he says, or I should say he asks, should people be able to purchase POAPs on the secondary market? And then he also has a bullet point here. It's asking what are good or bad reasons to purchase a POAP on the secondary market. So diving into this, here's how I think of it. What is a POAP? And a lot of people are going to have different answers for that, because a POAP is really like the Swiss Army knife of NFTs. You're able to do so many things with them, and really it's up to the issuer for what they want to use it for. Do they want it to be for attending their event? Do they want to be because you met them? What kind of utilities do they want to put on that POAP? Are they going to be great for discounts in the future? Are they going to let you get access to some sort of token gated event? Things like that. So whenever people think about what is a POAP and should you be able to trade it, I feel like whatever they have their instant thought of what a POAP is what their opinion on this is going to be. But let's really think about what a POAP is on a technical level. And really, it's just an ERC 721. It's an NFT, as I said earlier, it's just an NFT. So what can you do with NFTs? Well, you can transfer them. You can trade them. So should you be able to trade a POAP on the secondary market? Well, of course, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. And I believe trying to prevent people from doing that in the current state of POAP is going to be super difficult, because how is somebody going to know that they shouldn't be trading a POAP, right? So trying to prevent it right now is kind of a fool's errand, if you get what I'm trying to say here. But I think it also kind of leads itself into basically what it says around the 10 of this question, and even his little bullet point, like, should they be able to be traded in the secondary market, and what's a good or bad reason? A good reason would be maybe a person who wants to be part of a token gated community. They weren't around for when that POAP was being minted. However, they're able to go to a secondary market. They're able to purchase that POAP, and now they're able to enter that community that otherwise they may not have been able to get into. Or maybe there is some sort of discount in an online shop that you're able to get for having this POAP, and people see that valuable, and maybe you, as the person that owns it, maybe you don't want to have it anymore. Maybe you get more value out of it by selling it to someone else. So trying to strip that away from someone isn't necessarily something I agree with, at least not right now. And when you really think about it, if you want POAPs to not be tradable, you have to do it at the protocol level. Because again, how is someone supposed to know they're not allowed to trade this thing when they could easily trade it? Nothing is preventing them from trading it. And so this kind of leads into the whole topic of soul boundness. And how I feel about that, at least with POAPs, is right now, if you want a POAP to be soul bound, you're going to have to figure out some sort of new ERC for it, I think. Because how is somebody supposed to know that they can't trade this thing when they can easily trade it? Whenever the robustness of soul boundness starts to really begin happening and starts to sort of spread around and we get a good standard on what that's supposed to be, I can definitely see POAP taking that route. But I also want to say that perhaps every POAP shouldn't be a soul-bound token in the future because, again, there's some good reasons as to why you would want to be able to put it on a secondary market. And so when people have all these tools available to them, I think that allowing them to be able to use them is the best way to go here. And if you really don't want people trading POAPs on a secondary market, you got to put it in the protocol. But tell me what you think about this in the comments down below. And let's go ahead and move on to the next question here. So the next question that he asks, how should we think about those who intentionally try and manipulate the protocol? And then he gives two examples here. He talks about sharing secret words, and his words here were caught collecting. But what he really means is caught minting POAPs from events that the person didn't attend, or I guess even to further elaborate on that, qualify for. So let's kind of dive into this one a little bit here as well. So how should we think about those who intentionally try and manipulate the protocol? Well, POAP has decided to burn their collection, and they even have precedent for this one. So let me go ahead and show that. So this is a post back in March. This is from POAP Inc. COO Isabel. She had made a post explaining how they had caught somebody manipulating the protocol. It's talking about how they had found that they were just brute forcing the 6-digit strings in order to actually just discover mint codes. And something like that, okay, I can see how, hey, we don't find this good behavior. And so they did something to counter it, and they got rid of this person's POAP collection. I don't necessarily agree with this, but at the same time, I can understand how POAPs that shouldn't exist should be no longer in the wallets that they shouldn't exist in. And so when we think about rule breakers, I'm going to call them, it really is a tough one on what you should do, because I've made the argument in the past, well, maybe there should be some sort of disallow list. Yet I've also been thrown, well, we've seen how those don't really work in the past and how they can get clunky quickly. There could be people on there that don't deserve to be on there, and I can totally understand that. And there has to be something that, again, like I said with trading on the secondary market, you have to codify it into the protocol in order to actually protect from this. So you don't want people brute forcing the 6-digit mint codes. Well, then maybe that shouldn't be something that you use. Maybe you need to have more strings of digits on there to make it more difficult to brute force. Or even like secret word, for example. I don't necessarily care for secret word, if I'm going to be honest. I understand how they can be fun and how people would want to use them in order to make their events more fun and even easier to distribute their POAP, but I can tell you from experience, it sucks when you go to an event and they're using secret word in order to actually give out their POAP, and it's time to put in the secret word, maybe, you're trying, like, you put in a typo or something, or you just can't get to it in that moment. Well, it's like it's destined to happen, I feel like, where you you have your secret word, people will learn that, and now they're just spreading it. And sharing secret words, how are you supposed to prevent that at all, right? Like, how are you supposed to know that a person is, oh, they're sharing the secret words when they're not supposed to? I mean, I'm sure that you can find examples of that, but like, hey, like, if I want to share something with a friend of mine, like, oh, hey, there's this community where they give out POAPs. Hey, if you put this in, you can get their first POAP from them, and then you can come along next time. Like, is that really, like, bad in a way? Like, you're still trying to get them involved, but I can also see the argument how, like, you shouldn't really do that either. And I'm just going to kind of circle back around and say, maybe secret word isn't the best method, and POAP Inc. needs to find a way to put in new features that allow for better distribution of POAPs on a grander scale. And actually, later on in the show, we're going to be talking about a solution that potentially could help with that. But yeah, when it comes to rule breakers, I don't necessarily agree with burning their collection. Like, at the end of the day, it's their assets. Like, I'm sure that there's going to be some POAPs in that collection that they did get legitimately. So to be able to just rip them all away from them, it could cause some problems. But I understand how POAP Inc. as a company, like, they own POAP, right? Let's not get it all twisted up here, because they own POAP. They're out here, they're trying to do deals with other companies in order to get POAPs out there. They have partnerships with other people. They want POAP to be the best that it can be, and they don't want people abusing it. And they don't want to have the trust abused within their protocol. It's kind of like earlier last week, we were talking about what makes a responsible issuer. Well, what makes a responsible, what makes a responsible user? Well, not abusing the protocol, for one, is probably the number one thing. And I agree that if you do something that you shouldn't be doing, then you deserve some consequences. Is it burning their collection? Maybe not, but we're gonna have to see what they do with that in the future. But I would like to know what you think about this. Go ahead and put your comment down below. You can even go ahead and post on that Discourse as well. Again, that link is going to be in the description. So, all right, everybody. We're going to take a break for right now. But anyway, once we come back, we're going to take a dive into some POAP news stories. Really excited for that. All right, everyone. See you then. Be sure to join my friends and I for the POAP community call every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's one of the best ways to hear about what's going on in the community with discussion of what's happening, as well as listen to guests talk about their time in the POAP ecosystem. It's even a great way to earn a POAP for your troubles. See you in the official POAP Discord. Link in the description. Welcome back, everyone. So our first really in the news story for this week. So POAP Inc. COO Isabel, she had posted a tweet on Friday announcing the partnership between POAP Inc. and QR company Flowcode. So for those who have not heard of Flowcode before, they are described as an offline to online company that builds direct connections for brands and consumers, and they enable contactless connection with speed, security, and ease. So there is this Yahoo Finance article that this links to, and basically what this is talking about, it just goes in depth on the partnership, really. There's going to be a link in the description if you wish to read it, but I'm just going to talk about what it's saying and what this could mean for POAP. So one of the big problems with POAP currently is being able to easily distribute them at scale. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with Secret Word, how it's great to be able to easily give out your POAPs, but there's a lot of faults in the system for that. There's a lot of attack vectors there. A heavily poached POAP gets nearly all of its value removed, if you ask me. And is it really proof of attendance if anyone could just mint it, right? So why would an event organizer even continue to place utility in that POAP if they know that they're not actually rewarding their audience, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Well, there have been a few methods used in the past to figure out large-scale distribution. So a lot of us are familiar with the secret word method. And again, just about as many of us understand how that has a lot of problems. Secret phrases, they're fun, but they're high risk. And there's plenty of cases where, again, that secret word, it gets out. The event goers are not able to receive their POAP for an event that they actually did attend. And because people who didn't attend sucked up all the mint links, well, now you kind of have a bad taste in your mouth as the event organizer and the event goer. And then even having a static QR code being used in the past, if that QR code gets made public, and like trust me, it's like basically destined to happen when you're at scale. The same situation is going to happen where, again, those mint links, they're going to get sucked up by the poachers who are not at the event. And so you can have all these problems where, hey, people aren't going to like it. The event organizer may not want to use POAP in the future, things like that. Now, there have been some other methods that have come out, like the Magic POAP QR dispenser, and it's been pretty nice, but it's still in beta, and it does need some polish and features added to it in order for it to be usable en masse. But really, this is where Flowcode comes in. So Flowcode allows for the dynamic QR codes in a wide variety of ways. So on their website, which I'm going to go ahead and flip over to that. So it just describes the different ways that their technology has been used. And really the one that sticks out to me, so there's a bullet point. It is right in here. I can't really see it, y'all, but it's right here. I'm going to highlight it for you. There we go. All right, so it says, quote, integrate QR codes with TV campaigns. Flowcode is the only QR platform designed for TV, CTV, and digital video. And really what this tells me is that their tech is ready for larger scale scanning, which is exactly what POAP Inc. has been looking for. So this partnership, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And so there's a picture in the Yahoo article. I'm going to go ahead and flip back to that. Can't really see it. There we go. All right, so there's this picture right here. And let me talk about it. So it's demonstrating what's happening here. So at this venue, the American rapper Kevin Gates, he was having a concert, and during it, the Flowcode QR, it was projected onto the wall, and people, they scanned the code with their phone, and then they were presented with a POAP for attending the live event. And so here's the thing about this. People understand what to do when they're shown a QR code. And remember that you can reserve a POAP to an email address if you so choose. So plenty of people who scanned that code had no idea they were even interacting with the blockchain at all. That's how seamless this really was. And being able to use this at scale tech is a great way for newcomers to be onboarded into not only the POAP ecosystem, but in the Web3 as well. And the statistics in this article state that 90% of the codes claimed at this event, they were actually claimed by newcomers to crypto. So that's pretty cool. I like to hear I like to hear things that allow people to really jump into this ecosystem. And when you think about it too, there's a lot of neat stuff that this tech allows the event organizers to do as well. So with these dynamic codes, as it states on their website, you're able to access some metrics that allow for real-time data on consumer engagement and preferences. And this could do things like let the event organizers know who's scanning their codes and when. It gives them the opportunity to analyze their event from a statistics standpoint, which I know for me is pretty fun to do sometimes. And things like this can give more confidence to not only the organizer, but also the user scanning the QR code, because they know that they're going to be getting a valuable asset, and at least once more people understand what's going on, And it's not being stolen by bad actors, I guess you could say. And I want to take out, I want to take a moment to really think about a few scenarios where this tech could be really useful. And so again, I'm going to go ahead and swap back to it here. A real life concert where you have a whole bunch of attendance, you throw it up on the wall, you scan it, and there you go. Maybe instead of using something like an IYK device, maybe you just have your QR code on a little cardboard printout, and you scan that, and there you go. Now you don't even have to worry about having this button that uses the NFC technology in order to send it out. Maybe more people are going to be more confident of that because, I really like the IYK devices, but I have had experiences where I present my IYK card to them saying, hey, like scan for my POAP. And people are like, oh, no, 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 I'm not scanning that. And you're kind of like, what? All right, man. But it is what it is. Maybe a QR code, somebody will be more willing to scan that. Or even, we're going to talk about it later. Something like a token proof, they use a QR code to scan you into an event, and then you're also able to use that in order to get your POAP later as well. It's the same thing. These QR codes are super useful for being able to just scan in and get your stuff. And even with this, you're able to get metrics. So there's a wide variety of things that you can do. Again, I've already stated, like, yeah, you can see when they scanned it in, like maybe even where they are. If you have a QR code, you might be able to say, hey, this QR code is in this location, and you're going to know, hey, like this location's doing really well, this location is not doing really well, maybe we need to do something to fix the presentation for the POAP here, things like that. So there's a wide variety of things that this is going to allow the event organizers to do. And I also want to kind of throw it at you this way. So you know how Batman, he has this utility belt and it has all of its gadgets in it. Well, this is another gadget that's going to be added to the POAP Issuer utility belt. But what are your thoughts on this partnership to help distribute POAPs at a large scale? And I would really like to hear your thoughts down below. But okay, everyone, I have a somewhat interesting story for you. So this story here, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to it here for you. So this story, go ahead and scroll up to so you can see this. So there was this article. Now, this event happened last month, but this article, it was just published on the Spirit Business's website. And so, as the publication name suggests, a spirits company used POAP to help promote their product. And this is a U.S. whiskey brand named Angel's Envy. They created a meta distillery, ooh, that's a tough word for me to say right now, in virtual destination Decentraland. And there's really not much here in terms of like the blurb that they gave, so I'm just going to go ahead and basically read it for you. So it says, quote, the Meta Distillery, which opened from 14 to 20 June, also included a bourbon making experience, an interactive cocktail challenge, a proof of attendance protocol token, and a non-fungible token wearable giveaway. U.S. consumers were able to buy physical items from the Angel's Envy web shop and have a metaverse cocktail delivered to their homes via cocktail courier. The creation of the virtual reality distillery marks the first spirit in Bacardi's portfolio to offer a brand home in the metaverse. And so really the encouragement to create this Decentraland distillery is because Angel's Envy, they had this $8.2 million investment where they just expanded a visitor center location in Louisville, Kentucky. And this real life location has a 13,000 square foot area that they made in there. It has new event spaces, a new bar, retail space, catering kitchen, 5 tasting rooms, as it says here on this article. And they also have a bottle your own experience, which I guess some people really like. I'm not too into spirits or even drinks like this at all, so maybe that's something that's cool for people who like that. But let's talk about this virtual space. So in regards to this, Adam Nakata, he is the head of partnerships for the Decentraland Foundation, and he had this to say about the occasion. So he said, quote, we are excited to welcome the first distillery in Decentraland with the Angel's Envy Meta Distillery. As we've seen over the past several months, people want to engage in the metaverse with activities and goods that they can relate to from this reality. The Angel's Envy Meta Distillery creates a new way for people to engage and celebrate in the metaverse. Now, this isn't the first time that Decentraland has seen something like this. So this is back in April, so not too long ago. But Absolute Vodka, they also had a metaverse experience that they created, and they named it Absolute Land. However, I was doing some research on this, and it doesn't appear that they gave out a POAP. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to open up the event link for this POAP. So here it is right here. If you take a look, they had 430 participants that actually decided to mint it, and I'm actually really glad that this seemingly went pretty well. I really like it when well-established real-world brands, they're able to come in, they have a good understanding of this technology, and they're able to use it, and it actually pays off for them. They're able to do their due diligence. They picked a way that allowed them to reach this kind of audience in the best way possible, and from what I can tell, at least, they did a pretty good job. Now, I'm not really like a Decentraland user or anything, but hey, plenty of people really like to go into these metaverses and hang out with people and seeing them recreate it virtually. And even too, what I think is cool is that they allowed you to make a cocktail and stuff in this Decentraland space, and then you were able to like order it in real life as well. You could say, all right, my virtual avatar has this cocktail. Well, now I can come over here. I can use this service that delivers alcohol right to my door. I can have the exact same drink. So, hey, pretty cool if you ask me. But what do y'all think about this one? I think it's a pretty cool use of POAP. Again, not really my thing when it comes to drinks of choice. But hey, to each their own. Now, there is another story that I want to talk about here. So there is this Swiss chocolate brand, and their name is Toblerone. And they have decided to use POAPs in a way that it makes me and others feel quite nostalgic. So people know of this book by Roald Dahl, if I even said his name correctly. Oh man, it's been so long since I've even said his name. Roald Dahl. His Charlie and the Chocolate Factory book. But just in case you don't know what that is, I'm going to give you just a brief synopsis here. So it's a book, it's like from 60 years ago now. And there's 2 movie adaptations about it, and it's about a young boy named Charlie, and he takes a wild and crazy chocolate factory tour. And he goes to this chocolate factory owned by candy maker Willy Wonka. And in order for him to even be part of that factory tour, he had to find one of 5 golden tickets in a Willy Wonka chocolate bar. And so Toblerone, they had decided to use POAPs to actually bring a version of this to real life. They had placed mint codes in their golden caramel flavored chocolate bars. And from what I understand, this campaign, it's lasting from July through August. And I mean, hey, it's interesting. It's quite fun. It's a cool way to give back to your customers. It opens the gate to allow for them to give utilities like discounts or maybe other special edition flavors and things like that. Maybe they'll even allow for an exclusive factory tour like in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Of course, maybe minus all the wacky shenanigans here. So there were 5,000 of these chocolate bars for sale. And each and every single one of them came with a POAP mint link. However, if you look at their event page here, kind of fallen a bit flat. No, they're only at 49 out of 5,000, so kind of fallen flat again in terms of participation here. Now, I'm all for creative ways to get POAPs out there, but honestly, unfortunately, this really isn't getting the kind of traction that I hope it would. You know, I would have hoped to see that there's going to be more people wanting to use this thing. However, I don't necessarily think it's the fault of the POAP specifically, and I'm going to give some thoughts on that. So let's think about this logically. This is a non-crypto product. It's literally a chocolate bar that you eat in real life. And of course, there's people in crypto who eat chocolate, but they're not going to necessarily be Toblerone's main audience or demographic. Now, of course, there's definitely overlap here. And I understand wanting to get back to them, but I don't know, man. The knowledge gap is just too large right now. POAP is still in its infancy stages, and really, even people who have been part of crypto for some time don't even necessarily know what POAPs are yet. And if you think about it, this is being pushed out to a word I don't really care for using, but normies. It doesn't even state on their website that a POAP is available. So if we go ahead and take a look at that again, it talks about how there's only 5,000 for sale and stuff like that. Apologies if you're not really able to see it in the screen capture that I have here. But I promise you, I looked all over this thing. It doesn't even mention a proof of attendance protocol token anywhere. So I guess in a way, they're not trying to engagement farm, and this really is supposed to be a surprise. However, again, it's not really working out. This kind of distribution, it's unique, but it doesn't really lend itself towards user onboarding. But even with all that being said, like, I'm just gonna be honest here, like, why would a customer, like, really care in a way, like, now, I understand the argument that can be made here, like, sure, this worked, because now I know that they exist, but let's not get it all tied up here. I'm not going to become a customer of, a customer of Toblerone over this. And I mean, look, dude, 17 euros to have this thing shipped to my house. I don't know how many candy bars come in this. I hope it's more than one. But yeah, for 17 euros, getting this shipped all the way across the world to my home, even for a POAP, man, I don't know. And really, when I think about things like my POAP gallery, my POAP gallery is a reflection of who I am. And like I've been saying, man, like, Toblerone, I don't know. I don't care about them or identify with them enough to really want to even seek out this POAP. But, ultimately, I think the biggest reason why this isn't really working is that this campaign is just too early in the lifespan of everything. This would be a really cool surprise when blockchain and POAP adoption becomes more mainstream, but in my opinion, something like this, it's really only going to work once we're at the point where an average person knows what to do with it without much thought. Kind of like I was talking about earlier with the QR codes. A lot of people understand what a QR code is. They understand, oh yeah, I pull my phone, I scan it, and I get whatever it sends me to. Whenever you get this, you're seeing, okay, yeah, sure, you may have a QR code on that POAP link, but they're going to be like, POAP? The heck is that? And I don't know, man. Maybe this low participation, it might turn off Toblerone from continuing to use POAPs in the future, and that's definitely not something that we want. But on the flip side, I can definitely understand how this could be a good speculation opportunity. So the low amount of mints here, it could lead to this POAP being more valuable in the future. And in the description, I'm going to go ahead and scroll through it. So at the bottom here, it talks about how it says, quote, "You are now part of a limited edition club. You get ready for some fun surprises in the future." And when you think about like other things that can make this value, this is a official POAP from a well-established brand. And plus, how you get the mint link, it is pretty different from everything that's out there right now. And really, when you look at the art of this thing, it ain't that bad. So who knows? Maybe I've just been blowing smoke out of where right now, and the low participation is just because people don't really know about it. But hey guys, with all that being said, I'm not really in the market to purchase a $17 candy bar for a POAP, but still, I can see how this is creative. And like I said, maybe it's a little too soon in the lifespan of blockchain and POAP, but hey, at least people are out here, they're trying new things. I can definitely see this happening more in the future. Hey, when adoption's a little higher, could be something that we see all the time as like a thank you for just being a customer with them. So hey, maybe not the worst thing ever, and great to see that has been happening. But all right, so there is a tweet that I want to talk about. So there is this space that a lot of us enjoy, and it's called Bankless. And I'm going to go ahead and do this right here for everyone. All right. So this is on the overpriced JPEGs. It had featured Tokenproof CEO Fonz, and he was coming on to discuss proof of ownership and identity with Tokenproof. And so real quick, I'm actually just going to go ahead and give a quick spiel on what Tokenproof even is. So Tokenproof basically is this app. You can have it on your phone. It allows you to have pardon me, I guess I just say it uses zero knowledge proofing to validate ownership of crypto assets like your NFTs. And so on the Overpriced JPEG's Twitter, they had posted a snippet from the interview, and I'm going to go ahead and go over that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that back up for everyone. Let's take a listen.
We're just barely scratching the surface of what POAP can do in the future. Imagine that the Chicago Bulls or the Dallas Mavericks use POAP, and every time you go to a game, you get a POAP. Now, because the blockchain is public, you can see who the most loyal fans are, and you can start segmenting your customer base based on how many POAPs they have. There's also Tokenproof that can validate whether somebody has 3 of the POAPs or 5 of the POAPs, and that applies to live music and a lot of other use cases. So I think that's super powerful.
I'm imagining you're also thinking about this as being used like to get into a Maverick game or into a Beyonce concert.
100%. Yeah. But there's more to Tokenproof than just events. Imagine that somebody like Sephora wants to offer a discount to holders of Boss Beauties or World of Women. Because we know what you're holding in your wallet, and because you've registered that wallet with Tokenproof, we can suggest that that promotion is available to you. And when you go to a Sephora, we can do the token verification there before they give you the discount. We're just barely
So let's kind of talk about this one a little bit, y'all. So Fonz, he points out that in the future, it's totally possible that big events like an NBA game, it could be a place where you're able to claim POAPs, and though that kind of thought, it's not particularly new. There have been some problems that we've seen so far that, hey, in order for that to really be possible, we need to have a system in place that allows for easy delivery of POAPs and really subsequently easily uses them for their benefits. And the Tokenproof app, it can come in handy for something like this. And there's already some real life examples of this. So at NFT NYC, Madonna, she had held a concert for owners of World of Women NFTs, and Tokenproof was the app that was used to verify access for that. Yuga Labs, which a lot of people know for the Bored Ape Yacht Club, they had used Tokenproof to verify wallets for Ape Fest 2022. And in this Twitter clip right here, Fonz, he gives the example of Sephora. They allow a discount based on owning a certain NFT. So at checkout, you can use Tokenproof. You can verify that you own the NFT, and then you're able to get the discount. And even he talks about how, hey, you own the NFT, you can use our app to know what kind of utility you have. So really cool that, something like that is being thought in mind. I absolutely love how I pause on here. His eyes are closed. Sorry for the poor look there, Fonz. Anyway, so let's really think about what Tokenproof is. So what does it allow us to do now? Now you have a method that allows you to verify that you own the NFT and you're at the event. And then once that event is over, now you get a POAP. You can, you're able to easily be sent that POAP. You checked in with your crypto wallet. It knows that you're there and it says, okay, hey, this person for sure was here. Boom. And then the event organizer is going to be able to, in the future, they can use that same system. They're going to verify that you own the POAP. They're going to be able to give you the benefits. It's like a spiral effect when really you think about it. It's just one thing. It's feeding into itself over and over again, just everything one after the other, one after the other. And then let's think about, though, just kind of keep our expectations here. This is still fairly new tech. Right now, from a user standpoint, it's hit or miss a little bit. There's pros like you can have it on your phone, you can connect multiple wallets to it, whether they're hot or cold, and of course, there's POAP integrated in it, which is always a plus. And in theory, whenever you use it, only the people with the correct credentials, they're going to be the ones allowed in the event. However, there are some cons with this right now. So there were a few scanning issues when trying to get in at the gate. And unfortunately, sometimes your wallets can also disconnect from the app. But really, when you think about it, this is a pretty good step in the right direction. And so the need for something like this has been apparent for a really long time. And the thing right now, when you think about it, that really drives NFT value is what holding them is going to bring to you. And having something available to actually allow for quick verification at events is great. Heck, I could tell you from ETH Denver this past February that I had gone to an event. It required a buffer coin to get in. And I'm not going to lie, it really sucked trying to prove to the doorman that I actually owned one. And it even got to the point where he told me something along the lines of like, hey man, look, you're going through all this trouble to prove that you got this thing. No, I believe you. Just go in, dude. And even though I do own a buff of corn, and I still do, at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. And I can tell you for sure that I didn't claim any POAPs for attending that event if one was available. But with Tokenproof, I could have just had the doorman scan a QR code on my phone, and everyone would know that I'm allowed in. And plus, I would get a POAP for attending the event if one was given out without any hassle. And, at the end of the day, something like this, it's a win-win for everyone. And I'm really looking forward to see more examples of what's possible with this tech. But, all right, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at a few videos that I found that I thought were pretty interesting. So stick around, everyone. Are you somebody that's also enriched in this environment and you want to share what you know? Be sure to tweet me at either Mister Mojo RS, that being my personal Twitter, or at the POAP Report with what you want to share with me. Who knows, your story could even be in the POAP Report. You could even be in the POAP Report. Who knows? Reach out to me again at Mister Mojo RS and at the POAP Report on Twitter. Alright, everyone, and welcome back to the POAP Report. So, I want to talk about this moment from EthCC that caught some attention. So, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to that. So, this here is Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin during his talk at EthCC in Paris this past week. And he was answering a question that I'm excited to talk about. So, let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
I'm very interested in soul-bound tokens, and this is a very fascinating ideas. And the blockchain-based system are public. So if we want to make a private soul, I read your paper in my hand now. So the decentralized ID may be the best solutions. Or do you have any perspective regarding decentralized ID to help build the implementations of private soul? Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to pause this for 1 second here. So, this guy's English is not really good. I listened to this question over and over again to try and really figure out what he's trying to say here. But, what I believe he's trying to ask is something along the lines of, like, what are your thoughts on how we can use soul-bound tokens, and how do we implement decentralized identity? And let's go ahead and take a listen to Vitalik's answer here.
I think my general view on that topic is I think now is way too early to be debating between specific packages of solutions, right? I think there's a lot of people that have this mindset that soul-bound tokens represents a particular category of ways of doing things, and decentralized identity represents a particular category of ways of doing things. And I think it's just way too early to have that kind of thought, because I think we're still in the process of figuring out exactly when do we need negative reputation, exactly what kinds of attestations do we need, how does it gonna interact with community recovery, and this big long list of things, right? So I think my personal view is that we should have an open mind. We should design our identity and reputation systems around actual applications. So I do not trust anything that would come out of a committee of Web3 academics sitting in a room somewhere. What I would trust is something that comes out of talking to the POAP people and asking how do we make POAP more useful, right? And or how do we turn POAP into something that can actually serve our community's particular need to give out tickets to DEF CON in a more fair way, or have one token per person airdrops, right? So start with applications, build a system around the application, so to let it kind of more organically go from there. And at some point it's going to standardize, and we need more kind of formalization, but I think that time is kind of not quite there yet.
All right, everyone. So fairly lengthy answer, but let's go ahead and break this down a little bit. So first off, I just want to say, love how Vitalik pronounces POAP, the one syllable Pope, and the leader of the Catholic Church. He actually had posted a Twitter poll a little while ago, and I was actually sort of shocked at how many people say that they pronounce it as Pope. But all right, guys, I digress on that. Anyway, so let's really talk about what his answer is here. So basically, to paraphrase it, I guess, he's basically saying, like, it's just too early to give a straight answer on what's best, and let those who are actually working on those things figure it out as they go. And then, again, I accidentally sort of spoke over it in my excitement, but he has said this quote, and he had said, quote, "I do not trust anything that would come out of a committee of Web3 academics sitting in a room somewhere. What I would trust is something coming out of the POAP people and asking how do we make POAP more useful, or how do we turn POAP into something that can serve our communities, particularly need to do a variety of things." And he sort of just gives a few examples there. So let's think about what does all this mean. And so what I believe he's saying here is let those with the boots on the ground figure out what's best for a particular need. So, you have an application that could be used for something, and in this case, we're talking about like soulboundness and decentralized identity, things like that. And now we need to figure out how to build on top of that, and then we're going to either implement it there, or we're just going to use it somewhere else and create something new. And so he's basically saying, hey, don't just take the theory of what could be done as what should be done. Go ahead, do something practical, try to see what works and what doesn't. Eventually, a standard, it's going to be created, and it's going to, I should say, it's going to be discovered and created, and then you're going to build on it even further, and it's going to be a good starting point whenever you have that standardization. And really, when you think about it, you see this mindset all over the Ethereum protocol. So, of course, you have people like Vitalik here. He is in more of like an academic role himself, and he's more focused on the theoretical side of things. But hey, if you were to watch this whole talk, he's not prescribing what needs to be done. He's just saying, hey, these are the things that are being worked on and could potentially be the things that allow us to actually achieve these kind of things. So, him and those who are in the same role as him, they're super intelligent and they understand what they're talking about deeply. They're seen as trusted actors of what's possible in the protocol. However, Vitalik and the other researchers, they're not necessarily saying that things should be one way or the other, and they're pretty open-minded to what an implementation could look like. And when it's time to really drill down into the specifics, asking those who are directly involved are the ones who are going to have a better idea on what needs to be done to improve themselves. So let's take a moment to sort of throw it back to POAPs at the moment. He describes situations like using them as tickets or making sure we have proper one-to-one airdrops and stuff like that. And while in theory, those types of utilizations could be used with the POAP, really it's up to us if we want to use them to determine like whether we want to use it for something like that. You can't necessarily force it just because it's theoretically possible. Allow someone to think this is possible and then let them build it and see how it goes from there. And if it works, then a standard can be made. And if not, then you're just going to try again with something else. And, it's actually a really good mindset to have, I think, like, hey, again, the talk about like POAPs and tickets, maybe using a POAP as a ticket, not the best thing. Maybe you need to have it be a different type of NFT or a different type of standard at all. Or with POAPs, using them for discounts. Maybe that's amazing. And maybe that's not necessarily great for some standalone NFT collection. But hey, it's all about what you're willing to do with it and what's possible. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier, like, hey, should you be able to sell POAPs on a secondary market? Whatever is possible within the protocol is what people are going to do with it. And, if people want to use POAPs for something like that, then they can. And if we figure out that it's not so great, well, we can't keep trying to, force it to happen. You can't just keep trying and trying and trying and, oh my God, eventually we're going to whatever, right? If you do keep trying and it's just not working out, maybe you need to find a different solution. But what are your thoughts on what Vitalik had to say here? And let me know what you think in the comments. But all right, I want to move on to another story here. One that was actually sort of surprising to me. So there's this report that was on CNBC this week, and it was reporting on EthCC, and I was actually pleasantly surprised at how good of a segment this was. And Now, while it's not completely correct, I'm going to let it slide. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to let it play. Let's talk about it as we go.
What is the feeling at these conferences? We had 30,000 for Bitcoin. It held for a while. We cracked, and now we're trying to hold 20,000. If it cracks, what are people saying? Are they talking about the charts? Do they think the worst is over?
I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. So, the gentleman on the left, when he starts off this segment, starts pretty typical when it comes to crypto. It's all about the price action, right? Oh, Bitcoin was here, and then it went here, and then it went here, and blah, 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 right? It's seemingly whenever you see reporting on something like a CNBC, that's all they really care about. They only care about what is the price today. But that you're about to be pleasantly surprised, I think. So let's see what she has to say.
Right. So here in Paris, the overwhelming enthusiasm for the lack of liquidity in the crypto market right now is remarkable. Developers tell me that they're actually relieved that bankruptcies are cleaning out the system and exposing vulnerabilities. A bear market is typically when you wash out those players who are looking to make easy money, and it leaves behind the people who are really trying to create real utility. We also heard...
Yeah, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. So... it's actually a really good point that she brings up here. So, one of the ethos that was instilled in me when I first got into the crypto space was the idea of giving more value than I was trying to extract. And I'm really glad that I was given this advice because, I mean, hey, here's a great example of people who are trying their absolute best to extract as much value as possible. Well, they weren't giving anything back at all. And now look where it led them to. They're billions in debt. They're facing criminal charges. They're locking up people's money. And really, I'm just glad that this is stuff that I don't have to deal with. But all right, guys, let's move on.
From Ethereum's founder, Vitalik Buterin, who pushed a groundbreaking upgrade coming to the blockchain in September after years of delays. Ether is up more than 32% since they locked in a date for the so-called merge. And once it takes effect, Vitalik said yesterday it will make the network much faster, processing 100,000 transactions per second. It'll be more scalable and energy efficient. There will be lower gas fees. He also made the...
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. So... all right, what she said here, it's not entirely correct. And so while all the things that she says here, they are going to happen after the merge, it's not necessarily going to be specifically because of the merge. So a lot of what is actually going to come during the phases, a lot of what's really going to happen here are going to be from the phases after the merge. So that's going to be what is called the surge, the verge, the purge, and finally the splurge. However, overall, it's not that big of a deal. Like these things, they are going to happen after the merge. Not necessarily because of the merge, but they are going to happen after the merge. Let's go ahead and continue.
The point that we are headed for a period of rapid change for Ethereum, including updates to its monetary policy and its token issuance. So there's a lot at play here.
Okay, so Mac, we've seen one crypto firm after the other. They're like dominoes falling in succession over, say, the last several weeks here. Is there any kind of feeling, are crypto enthusiasts and the diehards worried about this contagion effect? If you're a true believer, you mentioned the washout. Does it maybe trigger at least something among some of those diehards about the future of the space at all?
There's really not at all. So this conference attracts the world's top developers and cryptographers, and they want to talk shop. What's happening with sharding, roll-ups, and zero-knowledge proofs, all of which may sound like esoteric buzzwords, but they are key to enabling mainstream adoption. Another topic that keeps coming up is this narrative of a contagion effect and how it's somewhat overblown, because the firms that are failing right now are mostly in the centralized finance space, so not DeFi. Think arbitrary annual
All right,
returns.
I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there because she makes a wonderful point here. Super glad she said this because it's true. All this turmoil that you're seeing in the crypto market is because of these centralizing forces not properly using consumer funds. Now they're out here, they're promising these huge APYs and you're going to become a millionaire in a year if you just invest in their fund or whatever they say to make you give your money to them. And look what happened. We entered a bear market. Now people have lost everything because they're not even allowed to withdraw their funds. No, I want you to earnestly tell me, hey, when was the last time that a MakerDAO locked out a user from their funds? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give you good luck on that one, but okay, let's go ahead and finish this one off.
20% APY and no collateral to back anything up. And then you have your DeFi platforms like Aave and Compound, which are over collateralized because they aren't asking you for your identity or your credit score. Also, their annual return rate varies based upon market forces, so it's real yield that we're talking about, Dom.
Okay, so
Yep. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this there. They pretty much just go on talking about things that aren't really matter. But yes, she just states it outright. You get real yields in DeFi protocols because you're just allowing whatever the smart contract allows you to do. Like whatever, it's all codified in there. Like you're not able to abuse these things because, well, they're trustless and permissionless, and you don't got to worry about it. And whenever you give something to like a Celsius, you're trying to essentially say, hey, like, here's my funds, I'm trusting you to do what is best for me, and you get a little greedy. And now look at people. These things defaulted because they entered a bear market and they were super hyper leveraged, and now they're screwed. And they paid off their debt with consumer funds, and then they just said, okay, well, you can't get your funds back. So, but all right. For the rest of this video, they're really only talking about like parties and social media photos and whatnot. And so, hey, I'll link this in the description if you want to watch the rest of it. But hey, this is pretty good overall. If you knew nothing about what was going on and this is what you would saw, hey, I would say that you would have a pretty good grasp of what was going on in the Ethereum space. And hey, good on CNBC for having some good coverage on something for once. Alright everyone, so to finish off today's show, I want to go ahead and take a look at the next portion of the issuer guidelines. So this time around, we're going to be taking a look at the petition review process. And let's go ahead, I'm going to pull that up for everyone here. But okay, so before we jump into this head first, let's get our feet wet a little bit. So what is this section talking about? So it's dealing with the thought process of the creation body. And what is a creation body? So these are real human beings who manually review every petition that comes in. They're the ones who decide, is your POAP petition going to be approved or not? And so this is what the process looks like. So it's talking about, hey, you create your POAP event petition, you fill out the form by doing that. The creation body is then going to review the information you provided with them, and then it does one of three things, which it lists here, and I'll get into them in 1 second. And then they're going to approve or disapprove of your petition, and if your petition was rejected, you can send an appeal on the Discourse to directly communicate with the creation body, and then finally it's either going to get approved or it's just going to remain rejected. And, honestly, soon, I should probably just go ahead and make a video, like, really breaking down, like filling out a petition step by step. But for now, I just want to focus on these content guidelines. So the creation body is reviewing your POAP drop, and sometimes a drop can take 24 hours or more to be approved. So it is best to send in your petition as early as possible. And then after some time, the best case scenario is, hey, they're going to give you approval without comment. And it says it right here. So this means that, hey, there are no issues with your drop. The mint links will be available for you to distribute. You've officially made your POAP event. However, sometimes more information will be required, and it says it right here. In this case, they're going to send an email to you requesting that you give them some additional information about the event. And honestly, guys, your best course of action, just give them what they want. Separately or in addition to this, the creation body may only approve your drop under certain conditions. So they may ask you to change something like the title or the description. Maybe they ask you to pick a more secure distribution method. But again, typically, if you just do what they ask you to do and make the changes or they say you need to make them, you really shouldn't have much problems after that. However, some people do get their POAP drop rejected because it is, quote, as it says here, it says, quote, conceptually too far out of alignment with the POAP ethos or the distribution presents too high a risk to compromise, cannot be reached with the issuer. I think I read that a little wrong. Let me try that again. Conceptually too far out of alignment with the POAP ethos or the distribution presents too high a risk and compromise cannot be reached with the issuer. But all right, so, the most common reasons for a rejection. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. We're going to go ahead and scroll down with the appeals here. So, hey, it just says it right here. These are in the order of most frequency. So, hey, most likely it's going to be one of these three things. So, reason one is that you're engagement farming. And, hey, this isn't totally a deal breaker. But if you're not able to present your case of why your POAP isn't more than a tool just to have engagement for your event, then it's probably going to get rejected. There is a little bit of nuance here, but creating a POAP drop as the only reason to come to your event is really not going to go well when you're trying to get approved. And then the next one here, hey, maybe you have a poor drop execution. I talk about this one all the time. It's really important that your distribution method makes sense for the event that you're holding, especially if you're a new issuer. If you're requesting a lot of mint links and your method to give them out sucks, good luck. You're probably going to not get approved. And I've seen cases where issuers have had a case of poorly distributed drops, and they actually lost their ability to get approved later on because the curation body just deemed them too unresponsible in order to even have one. This is something that I don't want to see happen to anyone. And then finally, it says here that you could have low production quality. So look, don't steal people's art. Don't have your title and description be gibberish. This is basically saying you can't throw up anything and it'll get approved. The POAP, it has to make sense for the occasion, and the information in the POAP petition needs to match and line up with everything. Now, if you do get rejected, not all hope is lost. If you look here, it talks a little bit about, hey, you can go on the Discourse, you can appeal your petition directly with the curation body. I'll even put a link in the description for you if you need it. But I'm going to go ahead and give some small tips on this. But really, when you think about it, it's common sense, guys. You want to be kind, professional, respectful, things like that. You know what I'm talking about, everyone. Like, just understand that at this point, being positive and cooperative is really the only chance that you're going to have at having your drop decision reversed. And again, think about it, guys. You're working with real human beings here. They have thoughts, they have feelings just like you do. So, they're going to treat you with respect, and it's good to return the favor for that. And, there's some good links that are provided here, which give more info on certain aspects that are touched on. Again, I'm going to link these guidelines in the description so that you can take a look at them whenever you need to. But all right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and truly close out the show here. I want to say a special thank you to Rio Reyes. He's the person that, you're going to see it if I can look at the camera here. Yep, going to go down here, right? This little logo right here. Thank you so much for that, man. You may have even seen some transitional stuff. He was able to give me, or I shouldn't say he, I don't know their gender specifically. They were able to give me the animation for the opening, for everything in between. Super helpful. Super thank you to them. Glad to work with them on something like this. And I mean, hey, I love it. I thought it was great. I put in my POAP-a-thon bounty, I guess 2 weeks ago now, a little over 2 weeks ago now, and hey, I asked them to make a few changes here and there. Could they do another commission for me? And they did, and I'm super thankful for that. Helping me streamline some of the process here on stuff, and it's super helpful. But okay, everybody, that's going to be it for me this week. Thank you so much for coming. Hey, if you made it all the way through this, please hit like, and of course, hit subscribe. But everyone, I'm going to see you next week with another edition of the POAP Report. Thank you so much for coming around this time. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care and be safe.